What's going on, everyone? Scream 5 is supposed to have some flashback sequences. So I wanted to dedicate a video diving in to various ideas on what they could be, what I would like to see, as well as how many could potentially be in the upcoming Scream 5 film. And as always, I want to hear from you down in the comments below, so join the discussion and let your opinion be heard. What kind of sort of flashbacks would you like to see? Like, what would you like them to cover? And before we get started, be sure to like this video. It helps me out a lot. It lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel, followed by the bell notification so you never miss an upload, and let's get into it. Right off the bat, I would assume that we're going to have a flashback sequence right from the jump. Whether it's right after the opening credit scenes, somewhere maybe within the first 20 minutes or so, or I would like to see maybe right before the actual opening credit scene. That would give us sort of this flashback montage. Maybe you cover, the moments up to this point. I would even like to see some maybe new information, as in what has happened the last 10 years or wherever this Scream 5 picks up. Supposedly it's supposed to cover that time lapse from the 4 to 5. So I'd like to kind of maybe have little sequences. You don't need to give us too much, just kind of give us a limited scope on what to expect, what is leading up to the moment that Scream 5 opens. I'd really like to see something like that. Obviously, though, if they did something like that, we would get a montage of the previous 4 films. I would even be okay with, instead of the flashback sequence in the opening, let's have a montage, sort of flashbacks to Wes Craven. Have him on sets and all this stuff. I mean, they're releasing a bunch of stuff for the 25th anniversary. Why don't you give us little glimpses at some of that stuff? They probably have so much stock footage. It's unbelievable. So if they can make flashback sequences, a lot of that is probably that stock footage that we never got to see, that they're just going to implement into this upcoming Scream 5 film. So if that's the case, why not give us some with Wes in it? Just give us a little montage into the opening credit scene. Now, I would like to see them implement the flashback scenes in various points. I don't want it to be random, of course. Like, I don't want them just plugging flashback scenes just to, save dead space. No, I want it to be incorporated in an integral part of the actual film. If whatever happens, I'd like to see some with Martha Meeks. Let us see some flashbacks with Randy and maybe even her and Randy. I mean, they have the technology nowadays. They can easily just plug in, Martha as a kid with Randy as, a teenager. That would be really cool to kind of see that dynamic. Give us flashbacks of Sydney. Maybe she's having, I covered in the most previous video, I'll link it down in the description, but in that video we talked about Sydney's mental health. Maybe give us her like a flashback of her after the events of Scream 4. Like, how did that impact her? Because we didn't get the trilogy that Scream 4 was supposed to be, so I'd like to see the aftermath of that Scream 4 ending into Scream 5, and flashback scenes are a really great way to bring us up to speed easily on that. But when it comes to flashback scenes as a whole, whether it be, in the beginning, the middle, the end, again, I'd like it sort of spread out. I'd like a couple, not just like one long one or like one quick, like, oh, here's a little flashback scene for no reason, really. I want it spread out in nice little sequences throughout the film. But when it comes to the flashback scenes in general, I really want a nice blend of previous footage of, Stu, Billy, Randy, the Scream 1, even maybe some Scream 2, 3, 4, as well as some time and space between 4 and 5. I'd really like them to sort of intermingle those two scenarios, where whether it's all in one or it's a in the moment. Sydney's struggling with whatever she's going through at the moment, and she's having a flashback on the events after Scream 4. Give us something like that, some nice little details. You know, she's talking to Martha Meeks. That's a great opportunity to give us some flashbacks and plug in some moments that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Like, that would just be a great sort of insert. Martha and Sydney are talking, and then bam, you know, you get this little flashback of Martha maybe as a kid with Sydney, you know, and that's easy to do. I mean, you because Martha would have been little. You could even have her like an actress, a young actress that is portraying her little, and just kind of, you know, again, they have the technology, they have the means to do so. I'd really like to see something like that. Maybe some flashbacks of Sydney and Martha in Scream 3. Like, what happened after the footage? Did she just, you know, did Martha just dip and everyone just went their separate ways real fast? Or was there some dialogue and some information that outside of the actual tape that Martha wanted to let Sydney know to help on her journey? There's supposedly a second tape that was recorded. Like, that's another great flashback moment, you know. I mean, I guess that wouldn't really necessarily be a flashback moment, as opposed to just like an old archive being plugged into the previous film. But it would be nice to see that sort of like, hey, you know, this is what happened. You know, Randy was the mastermind when it came to this horror stuff, and he gave the tape in Scream 3. Well, it's supposedly, again, there was a second tape. Jamie Kennedy said some stuff about that, and if there is, like, implement that. That's a great way to, again, plug the previous films. But basically what I'm getting at is I want to see a nice flow and combination between the previous films and sort of the in-between 4 and 5. Unless they pick it right up after, you know, or a year or whatever, then fine, or 2 years, whatever. But supposedly it's supposed to pick up in this time gap, which would be 10 years. Given the time that they actually wrote or started to film the film, then it'd probably be like 8 or 9. So maybe it'll be like an 8-year gap, something like that. But even then, like, what has happened between the events after Jill to now? Like, again, easy filler for a sort of flashback sequence, and boom, insert here, and we're ready to go. So I just want a nice flow of flashbacks. If you're going to give us flashbacks, like, make sure it's one, not random, two, it's in the moment and in the flow of the film itself, and, you know, give us something quality. Give us something that not only new fans can enjoy, but also us OG fans can look at and go, wow, yeah, this is great. But as always, this is a discussion, and I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. What would you like to see from the flashback sequences? Like, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Would you like, you know, a beginning, a middle, and the end type flashback sequences? Would you like a nice sort of blend of old school and rather new school flashbacks? Or, you know, do you just want like the old school, or just the time in between? Like, you know, forget the old school. We know what happened in the past, so just give us the time gap. So let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, be sure to like this video. Again, it really helps me out a lot, and it helps the video itself get out into the YouTube universe, and I truly appreciate it. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel, follow by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.